The children of Israel, who are they and where are they? The children of Israel are very important in the Bible. You can read about them from Genesis all the way to the book of Revelations. They are the chosen people of God. They are the ones who made a covenant with the Most High God to become His chosen people. And according to mainstream Christianity, the children of Israel do not matter anymore. But my friends, in this video, we are going to find out who they are, because that's far from the truth. Without the children of Israel, most of the prophecies, if not all of the prophecies in the Bible, will not come to pass. Because most of the prophecies, if not all of the prophecies in the Bible, are based on the children of Israel. So in this video, we're going to find out who the children of Israel are and where they are. So please put aside everything that you've learned. Keep an open mind so that at least if you have received a new information, you can take it and marinate on it and think about it by yourselves and do more research by yourselves. Let's start. Genesis chapter 37, verse 1. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. Verse 2. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. So in this context right now, we're going to read about Jacob, whose name later will turn to be Israel. So we're going to find, where in this situation we see Joseph, and it's talking about his other brothers. For those who don't know, Joseph is one of the 12 sons of the children of Jacob, or Israel. And in this situation right here, in the context right here, Joseph is going to tell his father about the evil report of his brothers. Let's keep going. Verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. Verse 5. And Joseph dreamed the dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. Verse 36. We're gonna jump further ahead so we can get to the context of what I want to explain faster, because if I have to read the entire chapter, it's gonna take 4 to 5 hours, and that's too long, but you guys will understand. Verse 36. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. So when you read chapter 37, you're going to find out that Joseph's brethren wanted to kill him, but they changed their minds and wanted to sell him. But the Midianites found him first, and they took him and sold him into Egypt. So this is the context. I don't want you guys to forget. Just keep focused so you guys will understand where I'm going. Genesis chapter 42, verse 6. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. So, when you read further ahead, when Joseph was sold into Egypt, Joseph became later on, because he could explain and interpret dreams. He interpreted the dream of Pharaoh, and he came also with a solution based on the dreams that Pharaoh had, because it was something that was going to happen. And because of that solution that Joseph came with, Pharaoh made Joseph the second in command in Egypt. He was the governor. And the land of Canaan, where Jacob and his children lived, was in famine. So now the brethren came into Egypt to buy food. So now we're going to keep reading so you guys can understand. Verse 7. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan, to buy food. So now remember, the brothers haven't seen him for years because they thought he was dead. So now they came into the situation to buy food, but Joseph recognized his brothers, but they couldn't recognize him. Why? We're gonna see. Verse 8. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. So they couldn't recognize Joseph in this instant. Why is that? So Joseph is second in command in Egypt. Joseph recognized his brothers, but his brothers didn't recognize him. That means that Joseph, being a Hebrew, had to look just like an Egyptian in the way they dressed, but also in appearance. According to the media, the ancient Egyptians look like this. They look like basically Arabs or Caucasian, right? But according to history and facts, the Egyptians looked like this. These are the ancient Egyptians. So whenever you hear people say, well, black people always want to steal the identity of other people and blah, blah, blah. No, the ancient Egyptians were black people. They were not Caucasians and they were not Arabs. The ancient Egyptians, when you look at the history and when you look at the walls of Egypt, they are black people. So if Joseph looked like this and the ancient Egyptians looked like this, the dark portrait, right, the dark image that you can see, then his brothers would have recognized him immediately. Why? Because from what they're telling us, the Hebrews, when you look at them today, they are Caucasian, right? So if the ancient Egyptians looked black and Joseph's brothers coming into Egypt seeing black people everywhere, then they see the governor, Joseph, the second in command. They did not recognize him, but if they see him, they will be like, this guy is a Hebrew because he's Caucasian just like them, if the Hebrews were Caucasian. Let's go to Exodus chapter 4, verse 1. And Moses answered and said, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee. Verse 2. And the Lord said unto him, What is that in thine hand? And he said, A rod. Verse 4. And he said, cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it. We're now way ahead in the future. Moses is born, and the Most High God is telling Moses to go to the children of Israel. But Moses is telling him, how will I explain unto them that you sent me? And God asked him, what is that in your hand? And he said, a rod, basically like a stick, like a stick that they had to walk with. Let's go to the next verse. Verse 4. And the Lord said unto Moses, put forth thine hand, and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand, and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. Verse 5. That they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, hath appeared unto thee. Verse 6. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. Wait a minute. This is the part right here that when I started reading the Bible, this part right here was the part that basically woke me up. Verse 7. And he said, put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. So we're going to talk about the signs of Moses. The first one, Moses had to throw the walking stick or the rod onto the ground, and it became a serpent. And then he took it up, and it turned back into a rod. The second one was Moses putting his hand into his garment. And when he takes out his hand out of his garment, Moses' hand turned white, leprous as snow. So basically his hand turned white. So according to the media, Moses looked kind of like this. Correct? But if Moses kind of looked like this, how could the second sign work? Because Moses here is already Caucasian. So there is no way that the sign would work. Because remember, from what they're telling us, the Israelites, the Hebrews, Moses right here is a Caucasian. His hand is already white. But the sign was supposed to make your hand white, leprous as snow. So how would the Israelites be able to see the miracle of Moses turning his hand white if he's already white? That means that Moses, being a Hebrew living in Egypt, for this sign to work, to show the Israelites, he himself had to be what? He had to look just like the Egyptians, which is black, for his hand to become white. Let's keep going. The adoption of Moses. Don't forget that Moses was adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh, basically an African woman. So this Moses that they put in front of us would never have been adopted by her because he was white or Caucasian, and the Pharaoh would know immediately if he was an Israelite, because the Pharaoh wanted all the baby boys of the Israelites dead, remember? So if the daughter of Pharaoh brought this Caucasian baby to the Pharaoh, he would have been like, wait a minute, this is a Hebrew, a baby Israelite. What is this baby doing here? He needs to die. So how is it possible that the Egyptians or the Pharaoh wouldn't have recognized Moses being a Hebrew if they are different? The reason why Moses was able to be adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh, and for the Pharaoh to believe that, of course, hey, he's one of our own people, is because Moses had to look just like an Egyptian. Just think about it. Let's keep going. When you look at the Israelites on the walls, they passed for Egyptians, remember? These are the Israelites working. Because remember, the Israelites were slaves in Egypt. These are the Israelites right here. Let's go to Genesis chapter 50, verse 1. And Joseph fell upon his father's face, and wept upon him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. So in this situation right here, in this context, Jacob, or Israel, passed away. He died. And now Joseph is commanding his servants in Egypt to embalm his father. Let's keep going. Verse 3. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. Verse 4. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, Verse 5. My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die in my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan. There shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again. So now Joseph is going to the house of Pharaoh and explaining to him that he made a promise to his father that he would bury him in the land of Canaan, where he prepared himself basically a place where he would rest forever, to be buried. Verse 6. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he made thee swear. Verse 7. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. So remember, Joseph is going to bury his father. The Egyptians and the servants, the servants of Pharaoh, and the elders of his house, and the elders of the land of Egypt are going as well. Remember this. Verse 8. And all the house of Joseph and his brethren and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. So remember, verse 7 said that the Egyptians, basically the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of Egypt, were going with Joseph to bury his father, plus all the house of Joseph, his brothers, and the father's house were going to bury Jacob. So now you have the situation where the Egyptians and Hebrews are going to bury Jacob. Verse 9. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. So a huge company is going. Verse 10. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan, and there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. Verse 11. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. So remember, we saw that the house of Pharaoh and the elders of Egypt. So the Egyptians went with the Hebrews, the Israelites, to go bury Jacob in the land of Canaan. And when this great company, this great multitude of people were going to bury Jacob in the land of Canaan, the Canaanites saw them mourning. The Canaanites said, "This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians." But don't forget, the Hebrews were there as well. Why didn't the Canaanites say, "This is a grievous mourning for the Israelites, the Hebrews, and the Egyptians"? But the Canaanites called them, all of them, the entire company, Egyptians. Why? Because the Hebrews looked just like the Egyptians in appearance, the color of their skin and everything. So it must tell you by now that the Hebrews, the Israelites, the color of their skin was black. They were dark-skinned people. Let's keep going. So when you look at this archaeology right here, you can see a piece of the wall of Egypt right here. And this is the Israelites as slaves in Egypt. Dark skin and with basically afro hair. Here also you can see at the bottom you can see the Egyptians, very, very dark skinned, and on top you can see the Israelites coming into Egypt with the colorful garments. They are dark as well, not as dark as the Egyptians, but dark as well. They are dark skinned people, black people with afros. You can take a look at it even better. The Hebrews and the Egyptians, black people, dark-skinned people. Here's some more of the Egyptians on the wall of Egypt. So when you hear and when you see the mainstream media saying that, black people are trying to take the cultures of other people, and the Egyptians are saying, I mean the Arabs that live in Egypt are saying they're taking our culture, they're stealing our culture. No, you are not the Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians, the real Egyptians, are black people. Let's keep going. Numbers 12 verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, Hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Verse 3. Now the man Moses was very meek, above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. Verse 4. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses, and unto Aaron, and unto Miriam, Come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord came down in a pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. Verse 6. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. Verse 7. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. Verse 8. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Verse 9. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. So now we have this situation right here where God is angry with Miriam and Aaron because they spoke against Moses. And now the God departed. And as he departed, let's keep reading. Verse 10. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And remember, these are Israelites, the brother and sister of Moses. And Miriam here became leprous, white as snow, as a punishment of the Most High God. So Miriam looked like this, right? But totally white, basically no dark pigmentation at all. You can see the Negro features, but her skin became white. If Miriam was a Caucasian Hebrew, like they portray the Hebrews to be today, then there wouldn't have been any punishment on her for what God did unto her. You wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't even be able to be like, oh, she got white snow skin, so it doesn't matter. But you can clearly see it and be embarrassed and ashamed for it if you are a black person getting white skin. All of a sudden, out of nothing like this, it's shaming and embarrassing for you. So now we're going to verses on how Israelites really look like. We're going to Exodus chapter 2, verse 16. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherd came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that you are come so soon today? Verse 19. And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock. Remember, remember that the Egyptians were a dark-skinned people. So now you can see that these Midianites saw Moses and they said that he was an Egyptian because they couldn't tell the difference. We're going to Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 1. The Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. Verse 2. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. Because of thy savor of thy good ointments, thy name is as ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. So now you have here the wife of Solomon talking about his husband Solomon. Verse 4. Draw me, we will run after thee. The king hath brought me into his chambers. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. The upright love thee. Verse 5. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. So his wife is saying, I am black, but comely. Comely means beautiful. She's saying, this Israelite woman is saying, I am black, but beautiful, as the tents of Kedar. But now let's go to verse 6. Look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but mine own vineyard have I not kept. So now, a lot of people, when they read this, when they read this verse, They say, no, she's not saying that she's black. She's saying that she has a lot of sin. She has a lot of sin. That's the meaning of her being black. That is not true. Because when you look at verse 6, it says, look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. Meaning she was outside and the sun burned her, so she looked even darker. Even darker. If a Caucasian person is outside and in the sun the entire day, that person does not become black. They become what? Red, because they got burned. They were standing in the sun the entire day. But if a black person is standing in the sun, they become even darker. So this is not talking about sin. It's talking about the color of her skin. Let's keep going. Lamentation, chapter 4, verse 2. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, to work of the hands of the potter. Verse 7. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. Verse 8. Their visage, or their visage, is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It is become like a stick. Here it's talking about the sons of Zion, meaning the children of Israel. Their visage is blacker than a coal, meaning their face is blacker than a coal. Let's go to Lamentations 5, verse 10. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. So their skin became black like an oven because of the famine. Verse 11. They ravished the women in Zion and the maids in the cities of Judah. So it's talking about the children of Israel in Zion, in Judah. A lot of people are saying their skin became black not because they were black people, but they became black like an oven because, they were white but became like an oven because of the terrible famine. Yes, when you take a look at when Caucasian people are in famine or they're starving, they haven't eaten and they're malnourished, their skin does not become black. Their skin becomes even more pale. Black people, though, when we are starving and when we are malnourished, our skin becomes darker, blacker. So saying that your skin becomes black like an oven as a Caucasian person because of a famine does not add up. That does not happen. You become pale, not black. Let's go to Acts chapter 13, verse 1. Now, there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers. Prophets. What does that mean? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 17. Thus saith the Lord God, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants, the prophets of Israel? So the Bible is saying that the prophets of the Bible are only from the children of Israel. Don't forget that. When you see prophets, they cannot tell you that the prophet is from another country or from another people which are not Israelites. The prophets of God are only the children of Israel. Let's continue. Which prophesied in those days many years that I would bring thee against them. Let's go back to Acts 13, verse 1. Now, there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers. Remember, from which nation do the prophets of God come from? Only from the children of Israel. So now it's talking about the prophets of the children of Israel. As Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger. So the prophets, which are only from the children of Israel, as Barnabas and Simeon, was called what? Niger. Meaning what? Black. So no, the children of Israel are not Arabs or Caucasians. They are, based on what the Bible says, they are dark-skinned people. They are black, what you would call black people today. And Lucius of Cyrene and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod, the Tetrarch, and Saul. Let's go to Acts chapter 21, verse 37. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? So now Paul is talking to a captain, a Roman captain, who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Verse 38. Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days madest an uproar, and leddest out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? So this captain right here is confusing Paul with someone else and thought that Paul was an Egyptian. And Paul, according to the Bible, is a Hebrew. He is an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. So how is it if Paul being if we go by what we see today, if Paul was what they tell us the Hebrew look like today, Caucasians basically, how is it that this captain is confusing Paul for an Egyptian? And remember, the Egyptians were what? The ancient Egyptians were black people, Africans. Egypt is in Africa. So where's Paul from? Let's read it ourselves. Romans chapter 11, verse 1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So there is the proof that Paul was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. So Paul cannot have been Caucasian like we see today if the captain confused him as an Egyptian. And we know that throughout history, if you look at history and archaeology, the Egyptians were black people. So if you believe what you read for yourselves and think logically, then you know how the children of Israel look like. So, who are these people? Let's go to Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them. So if we take a look at this piece right here, Christ is talking and is saying to the Israelites, basically, that I know your works and your tribulation and poverty. So the Israelites are going to be living in poverty. The people today in Israel are not living in poverty. But he says, but thou art rich, because when you read the Bible, then you will realize that everything promised unto the children into the Bible that's going to be good, the kingdom of heaven and everything else is going to be for the children of Israel. That's the reason why they're rich. But that's for another video. Let's keep going. And it says, and I know the blasphemy of them, which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. There are people, according to Christ, he says that there are people who are calling themselves Jews today, and they are not. Who are calling themselves Jews today? The people living in Israel today. They are the only ones. But Christ is saying they are not. They are the synagogue of Satan. We're going to Revelation chapter 3, verse 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. So the people living in Israel claiming to be Jews are lying. According to Christ himself, out of his own mouth, behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So Christ is going to make the people that are claiming to be Jews today to go and worship, to come and worship before thy feet. Thy here in this context is the real children of Israel. So they are not the Israelites of the Bible. They are not. So are the Israelites Africans, what we will call Africans today? Let's see. For the answer, we need to look at the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 1 first. Now, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. So let's take a look at the definition of Ham in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. When you take a look under the name Ham, it says, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. Stop. So according to this book right here, and it says here that Ham is the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes though. So wait a minute. It's saying that Ham is the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. But aren't the Negroes themselves a dark race? So how does this compute? Let's keep reading. But the Egyptians, so the dark races are what? Egyptians. Just like we've seen in the pictures that I've shown of the walls, the murals of Egypt, and archaeology, that the Egyptians were black people. This is saying also that Ham is the progenitor of the dark races, the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So these are dark races, but Ham is not the father of the Negroes, which are also a dark race. So what does this mean? These are not Negroes. Let's take a look. You can clearly see they are a dark race, different dark races. You can clearly see their phenotype, how they look. They are different dark races, but they are not Negroes. You can clearly see here as well. So we're going to show you pictures of real Negroes, the race of the Negroes. These are Negroes. Same color of skin, but different race. We're not the same. These are Negroes. So not all black people are Israelites. It's not about the color of your skin, because there are many black or dark races. But the Israelites are a Negro race. And we're not descendants from Ham. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. Verse 3. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. So remember, Ham is the forefather of the dark races like the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So now in this verse you see here that God is saying to the Israelites, according to the doings of the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan, descendants of Ham, you will not do. Let's go to Leviticus 19 and 28. Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. So when you look, these are the Hamites. Hamites. These are not Negroes, and they print themselves. They print like things upon them, upon their flesh, and they do different rituals. And they look different than the Negroes themselves as well. And remember that God said to the Israelites, the doings of the Egyptians and the Canaanites, the Hamites, you are not going to do them. Let's keep reading. Making you can see here as well, making marks and cuttings in their flesh, as God told the Israelites to not do, just like the Canaanites and the Egyptians. Let's keep going. Leviticus 21 verse 5. They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. You can see here a tribe in Africa, and this one is not a Negro, because it's making, you can clearly see the ear, making weird cuttings in their ear, and also some kind of baldness that the Israelites were not allowed to do. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 7 verse 26. Moreover, ye shall eat no manner of blood, whether it be of fowl or of beast, in any of your dwellings. Verse 27. Whatsoever soul it be that eateth any manner of blood, even that soul shall be cut off from his people. So remember, God told the Israelites to not do the doings of the Egyptians nor the Canaanites. Basically, don't do the things that the Hamites, the descendants of Ham do, and that is eating blood. And there are tribes in Africa still today that eat and drink blood. So we're not to do as them. The Israelites, a dark race of people, are not to do the same as them. Leviticus chapter 9 verse 2. Let's take a look at the verses at the bottom. Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Ye shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall ye use enchantment, nor observe times. Let's keep going. This is disgusting. So I'm sorry for this, but I have to show images for you to understand that the children of Israel were living close to the Canaanites, the black people. So they cannot be Caucasians or Arabs. And these were what the Canaanites or Hamites do. So how to find the Israelites? The children of Israel are, according to the Bible, dark-skinned people. But if they are not Africans, or let's say Hamites, then who? Let's go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 10. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. So Daniel is saying that the children of Israel transgressed the law of God and disobeyed God. And because of their disobedience to the law of God, the curse is poured upon the children of Israel. And you can read that in the oath that is written in the law of Moses. So you can read the curse that God poured upon the children of Israel in the law of Moses, because the children of Israel sinned. So now let's keep going. Verse 12. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us, the Israelites, a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. So Daniel is saying that because of their disobedience, the curse that is written in the law of Moses, because they broke the laws of God, the curse that is written in the law of Moses has been brought upon the children of Israel, and there hasn't been done anything as bad to other people as had been done upon the children of Israel because of their disobedience and the curse that is poured upon them as a punishment because of their disobedience. Let's go to Exodus chapter 24, verse 3. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said will we do. So Moses came down and told the people all the words of God, all the judgments, and everything that God had said. And every Israelite, all of them, with one voice said, everything that God told us to do, we will do it. Verse 4. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Verse 5. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. So now you can see here that they're doing something, some kind of ritual Moses is doing here. He took half of the blood of the offerings that they sacrificed, put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Verse 7. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord had said will we do, and be obedient. Verse 8. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. So you have here Moses sprinkling blood on the altar, and there is blood left still. And he took the book of the covenant, he read it in the audience. The children of Israel, they all agreed in one voice that everything that God said, the Israelites will do. So then Moses took the blood, the rest of the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant. So here is where the blood, the covenant was made with the children of Israel. So let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan, in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban, and Hazeroth, and Dizahab. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. Remember that in the book of Daniel, Daniel said that the curse that is poured upon the children of Israel, you can read it in the law of Moses. So now we're going to start by reading the laws and the curse and blessing in the laws of Moses. Deuteronomy 11 verse 27. A blessing if ye obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day. Verse 28. And a curse if ye will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which ye have not known. So Moses is telling the children of Israel, you will get a blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, and you will get a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Here we see again in chapter 28, verse 1, God is saying that if the children of Israel listen and observe to do all the commandments that the God gave to Moses to give unto them, that God will put the children of Israel above all nations of the earth. Verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. So now let's go to verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. So Moses is telling the children of Israel here, it will come to pass, as a future prophecy, it will come to pass, if you do not listen to keep the commandments of God, the laws of God, that God commands you this day to do. Let's keep reading. That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So the children of Israel will be cursed if they do not keep the commandments of God. Because remember, the covenant was already made now. By this point, the covenant was already made because the children of Israel agreed that whatever God said, the children of Israel will do. That's the reason why Moses sprinkled blood upon the altar and sprinkled blood upon the children of Israel to start and initiate the beginning of the covenant between the children of Israel and God. So Moses is warning the children of Israel, now that the covenant is made between you and God, if you listen, you will get blessed and be above all nations of the earth. But if you disobey the commandments of God that you have received today, that God will curse you, that you will be cursed, and the curses will overtake you and be upon you. So now we're going to read the curses in the laws of Moses to find out more about the children of Israel, because these curses are going to be very important. Let's go. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So Moses is saying right here, all the curses will overtake you and be upon you because of your disobedience. If you break them, if you break the laws of God, the curses will be upon you. And verse 46 says, the curses shall be upon you for a sign. So the curses will be upon the children of Israel as a sign. So something that you can see, for a wonder, and upon your seed forever. So upon your descendants, as long as you're generating, the curse will be upon your descendants forever. So the curses are going to be a sign, so you guys can see who the children of Israel are based on these curses. So now we're going to read the curses in the law of Moses in this chapter 28, to recognize who the children of Israel are. Because remember, the children of Israel are dark-skinned people that are going to have these curses upon them. We're going to read these curses and find out who the children of Israel are. Let's find out. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city. So this is the first curse. The Israelites will be cursed in the city. Wherever you go, black people are cursed in the city. They live in the most horrible circumstances and the most horrible areas everywhere you go in the earth. And cursed shalt thou be in the field. When you think back in the fields, the dark-skinned people, black people, were working in fields, in cotton fields, sugar plantations, whatever you want to call them. They were working in plantations, cursed. Let's keep reading. Verse 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So the other curse is that the children of Israel will be smitten before their enemies and be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So everywhere they're spread. That's the this curse right here. Verse 26. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. When you take a look at the history of black people, when we were deleted, I don't want to get banned on YouTube, so I'm trying to keep it as PG as possible. When you take a look at our history as black people, when we were deleted by our slave masters or abused in the most horrible ways, one of the ways were we were deleted and hanged on trees, or our bodies laying anywhere. And the discourse is saying that these particular people, the Israelites, the carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the earth. Let's keep going. That's Galatians chapter 3 verse 13. This is something that's kind of funny or ironic, because let's read this. Christ hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, Cursed is every one that hangeth on a tree. I hope you guys can see this. Cursed is every one that hangeth on a tree. Throughout our history, especially after during the slavery, we were hanged on trees. We were hanged all the time. So the Bible says, everyone that cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree. A whole nation of people being hanged on trees during slavery. What does that say about us then? Food for thought. Let's keep going. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 27. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. We're going to take a look at all of this. Yes, other people can go through the same things, but it happens to us more than anyone. And that's a curse as well that the children of Israel will have upon them. And remember, the curses are supposed to be a sign for you to recognize who the Israelites are. Verse 28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. So wherever you go, you're going to be scared and afraid. Verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Does this sound kind of familiar? The children of Israel, one of the curses is that they will never prosper in their ways as a nation of people, and they will only be oppressed and spoiled, and no man can save them. When we take a look at our history as black people, not only in America, because I am not an American. I was not born nor raised in America. I was born and raised on an island where the slave trade was very huge. But we go through the same thing in every country where we're in. Is that a coincidence? No, it's not. Verse 30, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. When you take a look at our history, whenever a brother wanted to marry a sister, the slave master would say, yes, that's very nice and all, but I'm gonna have your wife first, let me just test it for you, then I'll give her back to you, okay? Nice slave. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. And that's facts, something that really happened through in our history when we were slaves. Let's keep going. Verse 30, thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Let's think about it right now. As slaves, we've built houses, buildings, we've constructed, built, and did a lot of things in the countries where we were slaves. But this curse is saying that the Israelites will build an house and not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. As slaves, when we were at plantations, we sowed and reaped, but it wasn't for ourselves, it was for our masters, not for us. Verse 32, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. When you take a look at our history, there is only one race of people where this happened to, that were dark-skinned, they were black. There's only one race of people that happened to, where your children will be taken away from you, and there is nothing you could do to get your children back. And your children were gone. And there shall be no might in thine hand. Verse 33, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. When you take a look at when we were harvesting and doing, planting, harvesting, getting food for our masters, it was for our masters. It was not for us. We were getting the trash to eat. Just like we eat today, the trash that we learned to eat, it was something that we ate during our slavery times. Verse 36, the Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. So, another curse is that God will bring the children of Israel onto another nation that our forefathers, that the forefathers of the children of Israel did not know. And there they shall, when they get there, they will serve other gods. When you take a look at our people, we are the most spiritual people on earth, but we are in every single religion that you can think of. We are in Christianity, we are in Islam, we are in Buddhism, we are in Hinduism, we are in every single type of spirituality that you can think of. In every single type. Verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. So among all the nations where God will bring you, you will become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. You can see here all of the bywords that we have in all of the countries that we live in. It doesn't matter if you live in America, it doesn't matter if you live in Europe, it doesn't matter where you are. Whether you're in Asia, in China, in Japan, it doesn't matter. They see you as inferior, and they always have a proverb or a byword, or they're always astonished at the things that we do. For example, when you take a look at our people, we are the most attention-seeking people on earth, and not in the best way. When you see at the things that our people do, it's kind of embarrassing. We are the only ones that rap about killing our own. We make music bragging about killing our own. We make music on how we degrade our sisters, our women. Our sisters make music about themselves being hoes and bees. We are the only ones that when you go on the internet, it's our women twerking all over the place and act as if, hey, everything is all good. We are the only ones that glorify stupidity, foolishness, and making a fool of ourselves. We are the only one. You don't see the Asians doing this. You don't see the Caucasians doing this. You don't see the East Indians doing this. You only see black people acting a fool. And then these people look at us and they're like, what the hell are these people doing? Walking around, sagging our pants, acting as if it's cool. Our sisters walking around with barely clothes on, acting as if that's cool. Our brothers walking with tattoos all over their face, acting as if it's cool. Everything that we do, we embarrass ourselves. But we are so foolish and stupid that we don't see it. We think it's cool. We think it's something to be glorified. But it's only foolishness. Let's keep going. Verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. So the children of Israel, their sons and their daughters will go into slavery. Who did that happen to? I mean, from right now, things should be clicking into your mind right now. You should be thinking to yourself, oh snap, the Bible is real. Verse 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high. So when you take a look at the other nations, they're at the top. They're flourishing. Their communities, it's getting bigger. It's flourishing. They're getting wealthier. But us, and thou shalt come down very low. Look at us. It doesn't matter where we live. We can live in the richest countries in the world. We're still living in the ghettos. We're still living in trash areas. Is this a coincidence? I believe not. I don't think so. Verse 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. The money that we have, the money that we get, is from them. We loan money from them. They don't come and lend or loan money from us because we don't have anything. No matter where we live, we don't have anything. We seek help and provision from them. Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. I'm reading it again. Verse 46. And they, the curses, shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Forever. That's the reason why we're going to all of these tribulations. But let's keep going to keep proving to you by reading all of these curses that basically we are the children of Israel. But let's keep proving more. Verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. So the children of Israel will have to live among all of these people where God has brought them to, and the children of Israel will have to serve those people where they live amongst for everything, for food, for drink, for clothing, for everything. We are those people. We are the ones that have to ask the people where we live amongst for everything, because we don't have anything at all. Verse 48. And he, so the enemy that you live amongst, shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. Wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, is this a coincidence? Am I tripping? Because these curses are detailed. They are so detailed that you can clearly see there's only one nation of people that went through all of this and are still going through them. There's only one. Let's keep going though. Look at all of these irons upon the neck. Look at upon these yokes. There's only one nation of people that have went through this. Even more. Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Another one, when the Caucasians came all the way from Europe to get us from West Africa, did we understand their language? Of course not. And they came from far, from all the way from Europe to get us. And listen to what this verse says one more time. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. So who brought these nations against us, the children of Israel? Who did? God did. Why? Because the children of Israel broke the laws of God, and the curse went upon the children of Israel. So God brought these people against them. Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old. So they don't care if you're old or not. If you're still alive and you can walk, you're gonna pick some sugar. You're gonna pick some cotton. Nor show favor to the young. Look at all the young kids at plantations as well. It didn't matter if you were old or young. If you're young enough to walk, you're old enough to stand up your feet and go get me some cotton. Verse 61. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. So God says that all of the sicknesses that are not written in the books, in the laws of Moses, God will put upon the children of Israel. So we have to find a nation of people that are high in the charts when it comes to diseases and sickness. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, which nation of people on earth that you can think of are above in the charts, are high in the charts when it comes to sickness? Let's take a look. Black African American, male to male sexual contact. Look at who suffers from that. Who suffers from this sin right here? Black people. And when you go down, it says Black African American women. Those are the ones who are suffering the most. Black African American men, heterosexual. Those are the top. So, and even you don't need this stat to take a look at it. But let's think about it. When it comes to diabetes, when it comes to heart attacks, cholesterol, you have all these diseases and sickness that only we people go through the most. Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. So this curse is that God will scatter the children of Israel among all people. Look at this map right here. Who are the nation of people that have been scattered in mass among all people of the earth? It's only us. Scattered by other nations of people coming and getting us. Because remember, one of the curses was that other nations would come from far, and their tongues we would not understand, and they would get us. And this curse says God will scatter us. How will God scatter us? By these same people that God brought against us from far and scattered us among their people. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So under these nations that you were going, that God will scatter you amongst, you will serve other gods. Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. When you take a look, even now today, it's kind of calm. Well, compared to slavery times in the 50s and 60s, we still go through the same issues and just in different ways. That's the reason why people are crying Black Lives Matter, because we're getting the same abuse, and it's kind of, things have not changed. We are still crying for equality. We will not have assurance of our lives. If a police officer stops you for whatever reason, you will be afraid to die there, because you might be innocent and the police can get scared of you just because, hey, he's a black guy. Let me get my gun. Hey, don't move. But officer, I didn't do anything. No, don't move. You're stepping out of line. Stand still. But officer, I'm standing still. Bop. There you go. So it's this curse is also real. That's the reason why, like I said, we still have to tell the other races, stop killing black people. Why do we still have to tell people to stop killing black people? Isn't that self-explanatory? Stop killing black people. It's because the world sees black people as inferior. And don't forget, God said that these curses will be upon the children of Israel forever. So we're going to the last curse to prove 100% to prove who the children of Israel are, if you still did not believe what I'm saying. Verse 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt. So now we're going to see what Egypt means. Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. And I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So in this verse right here, it explains that Egypt means the house of bondage, the house of slavery, or slavery. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 6. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Again, Egypt meaning house of bondage, or house of slavery, or slavery. Judges chapter 6, verse 8. That the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage. Again, this is the third time that the Bible says Egypt means house of bondage, or Egypt means slavery. So Egypt in this context means house of bondage. Bondage is slavery. So Egypt means slavery. Don't forget that. Let's go back to verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt, or slavery, again, with ships. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible is saying that the children of Israel, the last curse is that the children of Israel will be scattered among other nations, all nations, with ships. Who are the people that went into slavery with ships? There's only one nation of people that you can think of that went in slavery into all nations, from nations that came from far, with ships. Only one. These are the children of Israel. We are the children of Israel. Those who have been through the transatlantic slave trade are the children of Israel. We still have people that are in Africa, our people, but it's us. We are the children of Israel. According to the Bible, we are. And there's nothing anyone else can say about this now that you've seen this. I hope that you can clearly see this truth. I hope that you have been open-minded from the beginning of this lesson and have been listening to the explanations that clearly show that the children of Israel are us, the Negroes who have went into slavery. And no one else. Let's read it one more time. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt, or slavery, again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there, so when you get there out of the ships to the countries and nations where you have been led to with ships, there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen, slave men, and bond women, slave women, sold. I mean, this is going into detail that you cannot deny it anymore. You can't deny it. There's only one nation of people that have been led into slavery into all nations, from nations that came from far, brought them unto other nations, brought them into other nations with ships, and then when they got there with ships, they got sold for bondmen and bondwomen. There's only one nation through history. You can see again, Negroes for sale. Let's keep reading. And no man shall buy you, meaning no man shall save you, no man shall redeem you. When you look at Martin Luther King Jr., he tried, failed. Marcus Garvey tried, failed. Malcolm X tried, failed. Harriet Tubman tried, but even she failed. Bencos Biojo from Colombia tried, but failed. Gaspar Yanga from Mexico tried, but failed. And so have many others that were revolutionaries, that tried to save us as a people, but all have failed. Why? Because we are a cursed people, and God said that no man shall save us from this slavery. No man can. So now we're going to more biblical proof to show who the children of Israel are, which is us, no one else. Numbers chapter 6, verse 5. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head, until the days be fulfilled, in the which he separateth himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. Judges chapter 16, verse 13. And Delilah said unto Samson, Hitherto thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, If thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she made him sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. Remember, Samson had 7 locks, or 7 braids, or 7 locks of hair, because when the texture of the Negro hair, when you don't comb it, it locks, meaning there is no comb that can go through it. You can't. There is no easily untying it. You can't do any of that. It's a lock, seven locks of hair that Samson had. Because when they show us Samson on TV, they show us a Caucasian guy with stringy hair, but those are not 7 locks though. So that's another lie. Isaiah chapter 3 verse 16. Moreover, the Lord saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with stretched forth necks. When you see haughty plus stretched forth neck, it means proud, vain, arrogant, condescending. So God is saying that the daughters of Zion, or our sisters, are proud, vain, arrogant, and condescending. When there is only one nation of people that you can think of, the females of that nation of people doing it, and it's our people. Our sisters, they're hard-headed and they're very rude. And God said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks, wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Wanton eyes is basically sexual, immoral, immodest. Basically saying, ooh, look, he looks very handsome, he looks hot. Ooh, I want to sleep with him tonight. That's wanton eyes. So because of that, what did God say? Therefore, the Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. So because of our sisters, the women of Zion, because of them being so rude, so condescending, and have wanton eyes, God said he will smite our sisters, the children of the daughters of Zion, with scab on the crown of the head. Look at this. Verse 24. And it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell, there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle, a rent, and instead of well set hair, baldness. So our sisters, the daughters of Zion, will not have well set hair. They will have baldness. And instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. Look at this. There is only one nation of people. There is only the females of one nation of people having this issue, where they can't grow their hairs normally anymore. We are the only ones, and yes, it's because we put the chemicals in our head. Our sisters put these chemicals in their head to look like the other nations, but our sisters cannot grow their hair normal anymore. It's a curse, and that's only us. Only our women have this, because all of the other nations, they still have their long hair. Let's go to Psalms chapter 137, verse 3. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. Verse 4, How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? So the children of Israel, while they are in captivity, the slave masters ask them to sing a song, sing one of the songs of Zion. They're asking the children of Israel to sing them, right? And the children of Israel are saying to themselves, how shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? I don't know if you guys remember this, but in captivity, the children of Israel sang songs during slavery. And one of the famous ones is this one. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. This song was sang by the slaves. Now, in Hebrew, kum is stand up, arise. Ba has no definition, but may be Abba, which means father. Yah is the name of Elohim, the Most High God, Yahweh. So basically the song is saying, Yah, stand up. Oh Father, stand up. Arise. For what? To come and save who? The children of Israel. Because the children of Israel have always cried unto God to come and save them when they were enslaved, even in Egypt. This is not a coincidence. So the slaves were crying for Yah to arise and to save them from slavery. Let's go to Isaiah 42, verse 22. Verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith, restore. When you take a look at the people who are in prison, who are in jail, who are in prison, which people for majority are in prison? Black people. We are the ones that are for the most part in jail. Let's go to verse 23. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Verse 24. Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. So, it's saying verse 24, who gave Jacob for a spoil? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? So who gave us up to these other nations? God did, because we broke the covenant, we broke the laws. We sinned against God, therefore we went into slavery. That's the reason why all of these bad things are happening to us. Because we sinned against God. Our forefathers have, and we, this generation, keep sinning against God. We keep breaking God's laws. That's the reason why bad things keeps happening to us. I hope that you listening to me right now, my people, can understand this. So, this is the end of this video. And based off what I have shown in this video, biblically, the children of Israel are black people, are the Negroes. The Negroes who went into slavery in ships And the Negroes who are in parts of Africa till this day are the children of Israel. The reason why we go through all of these bad things, the tribulations, the terror, and it seems like it never can stop, is because we, the children of Israel, have sinned against the God of our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When we broke his laws that we promised to him that we would keep, and we didn't keep them. We still not keeping it today. But in these last days, you can clearly see that our people are waking up and are starting to realize that we are the children of Israel. The black people who are scattered to the four corners of the world are the children of Israel. So I hope that you have seen, understood, had an open mind while watching this video. And if you do believe this message, this lesson, make sure you subscribe, share, and like, because I'm gonna make more videos